speak to you all tonight. There are so many familiar faces here in this room, which is a testament to the closeness of this beautiful community. I truly feel as though I'm amongst family tonight. I lost my husband Josh in November, nearly 10 years after diagnosis. I'm here to share our story, which is so inextricably linked to Cure Brain Cancer Foundation and the brain cancer community as a whole. Josh was a magnificent speaker, and I heard him fearlessly share our story many times. He would always say his secret was to begin with a joke, because you have to have a sense of humour about these things. I am truly following in the footsteps of greatness by being up here speaking to you all tonight. As each speaker from the past 4 years, I am blessed to call my dear friend. I remember very vividly our first Dine for a Cure in 2015. Our dear friend Ben Lesky spoke. He delivered such an uplifting and inspiring perspective of his brain cancer journey. The following year, Michelle Heaney and Jacob Walker spoke. They both spoke with such passion. It was empowering and energising. Last year, the wonderful Alicia Way spoke to us, just up the road at Alicia is somewhere here tonight, but based on that voice, Alicia is there. And her hopeful and beautiful speech is a tough act to follow. Brain cancer is a life-altering and often scary thing to come to terms with, and anyone will be forgiven for retreating and focusing on their own situation. But each of these fearless young individuals not only have come to terms with their own diagnosis, but have taken it upon themselves to rally for the cause and create waves. Tonight, I want to tell you about how all of these people have changed my life and have changed the world together. But first, my magnificent man. I met Josh 6 weeks after his first diagnosis in 2008. I can still close my eyes and see the first moment I saw him. He had just returned from an 8-month deployment in Afghanistan, and we were at a party on the Air Force Base, which a couple of people in this room tonight dragged Josh along to, which was very grateful. It was quite honestly love at first sight. Finally, Josh came over to me, leaned in close, and whispered in my ear, "Are you going to eat that?" As it so happened, I wasn't going to eat that, and so started the most incredible experience of my life. It wasn't long before Josh took a deep breath and told me about his brain thingy. He was about halfway through a 6-week course of radiotherapy, following a frontal craniotomy for his grade 3 astrocytoma. From the get-go, Josh wasn't going to take any of this lying down. In the 6 weeks since diagnosis, he'd already managed to fit bungee jumping and snowboarding in amongst his treatment. When I asked him about bungee jumping so close to brain surgery, his response was, "Well, I wore a hat." This was the energy and drive that we have continued with for the following 10 years. Josh was magnetic, dynamic, and so much fun. There was nothing for it but to get involved and try and change the face of brain cancer. Because at the core of it, Josh would always say that he couldn't handle the thought that some little kid might have to experience what he had. That was what fueled our passion. Josh was now studying to be an engineer, and on top of that and his work as a motorbike instructor, Josh became a camp leader at Camp Quality. I became a radiotherapist at Peter Mac. We got a dog, got married, celebrated with loved ones, and travelled every year. In 2014, Josh had his second operation and started a course of chemotherapy. We decided it was time to kick things up a notch. That was when we found Cure Brain Cancer Foundation. I have to say, hand on heart, that I love this organisation. It is a formidable team, led by the magnificent Michelle Stewart, who you'll hear from a bit later. We have been lucky to call Michelle a dear friend for many years, and I would honestly follow her to the end of the earth. In hospital, she was one of the few people that Josh specifically asked to see. In 2015, I was finally able to elbow my way into a job at the foundation. My strategy was essentially to annoy them until they gave up and gave me a job. I quit my work as a clinician, and I've never looked back. I stand here, despite everything that has happened these last 12 months, proud. We honestly have some of the best minds in the world in our corner to challenge brain cancer. And change will happen. I wish it would have happened quicker, but it will happen. Being a part of Cure Brain Cancer Foundation has enabled us a platform to really make waves in the brain cancer world. We've been a part of many initiatives, from fundraising to advocacy, and have worked with numerous organisations, from the Cancer Council to Harley-Davidson. But we couldn't do any of this alone. The emotional grounding and strength required to both live your own brain cancer experience and be an advocate for change requires strong support. It really does take a team, a family. Our family manifested from within the brain cancer community itself, and we were lucky enough to find so many gorgeous people who I am blessed to call my friends, and some of whom I spoke about before. We called ourselves the Young Advocates, and this group will form the basis of the grassroots advocacy program that we are so passionate about establishing through the foundation. And this photo is a photo of Alicia's team at Walk for Brain Cancer a couple of years ago. I think it's a smaller version of the team. You can see Alicia right there in the middle. The team was Go Away Gladys. Alicia's tumour is called Gladys. And for any of you wondering, yes, Josh named his too, Belvedere. I want to read a snippet from a piece that Josh wrote about our group. There is a real feeling of momentum in our little group that the real change could be just around the corner. The frustration in the lack of options of treatment is fueling enthusiasm in this group that we might just be able to do something meaningful about it. This summer, we lost 3 members of our little group, my Josh, Michelle and Ben. At this point, our brain cancer family turned from an empowered group of young people creating change to a support network that help each of us deal with the greatest challenge of our lives, together. These 3 in particular supported each other through every stage of their journey. Josh and Michelle called themselves the Chemo Amigos. And we would bump into each other in doctors' waiting rooms and pass on messages to the nurses in the hospital near us. Ben and Josh would catch up for coffee every week. This was especially important to them both as they approached the trials at the end of the year. In an article, Ben wrote about their coffee days. With Josh, I feel a sense of being 2 old, wise men hardened by their life experiences and cancer diagnoses. I remember sitting in Michelle's living room in December last year with Ben and his beautiful husband Khan, just after Josh had passed away. Even then, we were still together and still supporting each other. I cannot explain to you how lucky I have been to experience the strength of not only my Josh, but of all 3 incredible souls. All 3 were a huge asset to this brain cancer community, and all 3 approached each stage of this with grace, dignity, and an overwhelming sense of peace. Most people will not experience what many in this room have. I've just lived it 3 times. These 3 were always like-minded souls, and we all have so much fun together. They are connected in so many ways, and the support of this community, all of you sitting here in this room tonight, helped. Because through the whole thing, we were never alone. When Ben and Khan couldn't physically be with us, they sent video groups. When Shell was having chemo, she'd come in and say hi. Now I ask you to look to the person sitting next to you and take note. Here tonight is a reflection of what I have just experienced, multiplied by 500. Across Australia is a reflection of what I have just experienced, but multiplied by thousands. Around the world is what I have just experienced, but multiplied by millions. We are no longer isolated or alone. We are united, and we do this together. And my friends, we will do this. About this time last year, Josh was asked to be ambassador for the Harley-Davidson's 100-year anniversary ride. We rode from Sydney to Melbourne, and with the help of the Kyoto Reedy Foundation and Harley Heaven, raised over $100,000. In his speech at the finish line, Josh spoke about the next generation, about how that $100,000 would help change the face of brain cancer so that nobody else would have to experience what we have. Josh spoke quite a bit about the next generation, and I knew that the work that he did to make change in the brain cancer space would not necessarily, and he knew the work that he did to make change in the brain cancer space would not necessarily benefit him. We had to say goodbye to 3 important members of our brain cancer family this summer, but out of the summer, we also said hello, as 3 little babies were born into our family. On the left is Faith and passed away at 2 years, 6 months and 2 weeks. This wonderful family have been responsible for fundraising dinners and participated in the recent Senate Select Inquiry by making one of the over 300 submissions. They are two of the most courageous and inspiring people I have ever met. On the right is Jacob and Caitlin, who are here tonight, and their gorgeous little boy Hudson. Jacob was diagnosed in 2014 and has been a hard-working ambassador for Cure Brain Cancer Foundation since. He inspires many with his YouTube videos, and as I mentioned before, spoke at Diet for a Cure a couple of years ago. And there in the middle, that's me holding my little girl, Primrose, who was born on the 13th of February this year. She shares a birthday with her dad. What will the landscape look like when these three little ones are in their early 30s, like Josh, Ben and Michelle? Because of people like you, because of all of my gorgeous friends, change is happening. Because of you, when Primrose is in her early 30s, maybe even before, she will know a world free of brain cancer. We can make this happen together. Since becoming a part of the charge, we have seen thousands join our cause. We've had our voice heard in Parliament. We've found our way into the mainstream media, become a trending issue, and made government and non-government organisations alike unite under the crane. Less than a month before Josh passed away in hospital, we turned on the news and witnessed the announcement that he had worked so hard to bring about. The joint commitment from philanthropy and government of $100 million, specifically for brain cancer. The biggest push in brain cancer history anywhere in the world. For the legacy of those we have lost, for the hope of those who are still with us, and so no other family has to go through what we have. We've only just begun. Let's finish this together.